Hello and welcome. We are going to do a sketchbook tour today. So this is a sketchbook I used for Plein April 2023. And I'm just going to do a quick little look through with you and then go over every single painting I did. So if you're new here, in the month of April in 2023, I worked in this sketchbook every single day and painted gouache from a dried palette. And so today we are going to go through every single painting. And if you want to check out the playlist for the paintings, check them out here. So this was day one. This is a rainy farm day. And I took shelter underneath a lean-to and painted this scene out at my family's farm. You see the rain clouds coming through, some far off fir trees, classic outhouse. But it was cold and rainy, so definitely took shelter that day. This is day two. I was hanging out over by Brooks, Oregon at Tango and 52nd. And I was painting in my car because it was quite cold. And if you watch the video, you will see how I finished this in the dark. Yeah, it got dark on me. So I finished it. It wasn't exactly how I pictured it to be finished because it got dark, but I got it done. This is day three, a corn crib. It is quite old and it went through a lot of ugly stages, but I'm really glad that I stuck it out and finished it. And this is day four at Diamond Woods Golf Course. I was teaching a painting class out there that day, so I went a little early and did my plein air. I actually used to work at this golf course. Here is day five, the cherry blossoms and paper lanterns at the Capitol building. So every spring there's a ton of cherry blossoms that bloom, in front of the Capitol building in Salem, Oregon. And this year they put these beautiful paper lanterns, and I just knew I had to paint them. On day 6, I stayed close to home and I painted a bloom from my camellia bush in our front yard. It was wet out, so I practiced painting some little drops of water as well. Day 7, I ventured out to the Wooden Shoe Tulip Farm. It was quite dark and ominous skies. And honestly, there were not many tulips blooming, so I really used my imagination and made them more in bloom. Day 8, I painted a monotone view of some snowy hilltops. I just used 4 tubes of paint for this one. On Easter, I painted these daffodils from my parents' front yard. And I actually accidentally got some paint over here, so I tried to fix it, and it just made it kind of like a yellow-green mess. And that's when I decided I need to put some protectant layer on all my gouache paintings, and I use the Dorland's wax medium. On day 10, we went to Newport, Oregon, and ventured out to the Oregon Coast Aquarium, and that's where I painted this rockfish, sea kelp, and a little starfish from life in one of their underwater exhibits. And then the next day, I went out to Salem, Oregon at Bush Pasture Park and painted the vintage greenhouse. And I added a little tiny bird in front of the door. This one was a lot of fun to paint. But I forgot one of my art supplies when I worked on this painting. So make sure to check out that video to see what I forgot. 12. On day 12, I was short on time, so I just did a quick little painting of these dandelions right at the doorstep of my art studio. Day 13, I was traveling over to Central Oregon, so I stopped at Camp Sherman and painted the Metolius River. This was a lot of fun. Day 14, I woke up at a fellow artist's house, and this was a view from her back deck. This is the 3 sisters. So we have a north sister, the middle sister, and a south sister. And I have actually climbed to the top of the south sister many years ago, but this was a joy to paint. I played around with using purple and yellow and blues and greens and just had a lot of fun with this one. Day 15, I was busy at the Watercolor Society of Oregon's spring convention, so I did a quick little plein air from the balcony of my hotel room, and this is the Deschutes River. Day 16, I was heading home from Central Oregon, and I stopped along the Santiam River, which is over by Mill City. This was another very rainy day, and I sat in my car and painted. Day 17, I was over at the Tulip Festival again, and I did some quick tulips because it was getting very stormy very quickly. And thankfully, I started this in my car because it started getting really windy and pouring rain. So these are just some little expressive tulips I painted. Day 18, I was busy once again teaching class. And so I think this was like a rosemary bush that's planted down in downtown Corvallis. And I just did this quick little study of this little bush with the little purple blue blooms. And I just did this right before class, but I got my plein air in for the day. On day 19, I traveled out to Carlton, Oregon to an artist studio, and I filmed her doing a little tutorial. And after that, I had some time and I did my plein air for the day. This is actually the view from her art studio. And if you want to hear about this walnut tree, make sure to check out the video for day 19 because this walnut tree has quite the story. On day 20, I painted this from my car, another little scene from the windshield of my car sitting in a parking lot. And I did this before I taught a class out in Wilsonville, Oregon. This was day 21, and this was quite the beginning to an adventurous weekend. This guy here is a white sturgeon, and I painted him from life. There were a number of them in this little pond with an underwater viewing station. And I highly recommend checking out day 21 to see this white sturgeon come to life. This is from day 22. One of my viewers helped me figure out that this is probably a weeping birch tree. I knew I had to paint in this format, the very vertical format for this tall tree, because I just knew this horizontal format would not do it justice. And on day 23, I painted the Deschutes River once again, but this time it was from a different location. And this was over down in Max Canyon, which is north of Tye Valley. It was quite the windy, warm day, and I just knew I had to paint once again in this very vertical orientation to get the river and the hillsides and the sky and everything. On day 24, I stayed a little closer to home. I went to Kaiser Rapids Park, which is about 20 minutes from our house, and I painted the forest. I had to simplify quite a few things in this painting, and I actually had a lot of fun tapping my brush full of gouache paint to do these little dots. I was thinking of all the sunlight coming through and sometimes how the dust catches and makes these golden little light orbs. On day 25, I sketched and painted our rabbit. She is a Flemish Giant Holland Lop mix. Her name is Velvet. She's a very friendly girl, and I had a lot of fun sketching her out and then painting her from life. Day 26, I taught up at Shemeketa Cellars Tasting Room. And this is a simplified view from their deck that you can sit out with a glass of wine and a charcuterie board. And it was quite hazy that day, so I just played around with the different colors that I saw. Day 27, I went down to the Willamette Heritage Center and I painted this very vertical scene. At Willamette Heritage Center, they would process wool and they needed water to run the mill. And so this is part of the little runoff in one of the outbuildings and probably another weeping birch or something like that. But this is one of the views. So this was day 27. Day 28, I was out and about and I went once again to the Wooden Shoe Tulip Farm, and they had hot air balloon rides available above the fields of tulips, and it was just so magical. I had to just sit down in the grass between the rows of tulips and paint them. So this was a day 28. And then I made a mistake. This is day 30. I accidentally skipped this page, so we're going to skip all the way to the last spread, which is actually day 29. This full spread is of me playing around painting my peony tree out front. It's like a big bushy peony bush, but it's technically a tree. You don't trim it back in the fall. And it has these big, beautiful blooms. There's just a single layer of petals. And I just played around painting it. And I painted these a different way than I painted for the entire month of April. So make sure to check out day 29 for my pink peony blooms. And the last day, day 30 of April, I painted our dogwood tree in our front yard. I painted this a little bit differently as well. Sometimes when you stop at 80%, it looks more fresh than if you keep working and overworking it till it's 120% overdone. Thank you so much for coming along with my little sketchbook tour of Plein April 2023, where every day in April I went out and I painted in this sketchbook in gouache. I hope this little tour has inspired you to get a sketchbook and fill it up, do a little painting every day or once a week, just some time to get out and be creative. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. What day was this? 9, 10. 8, 9, 10, 11. This is day 12. It's here. 9, 10, 11, 12.